Okay, so good morning, everyone. Today is Thursday, January 16th, 2020. The time is 9:02 a.m. We're meeting for our weekly community development sessions, if you will. I am calling this meeting to order, and I would ask Sandy to lead us, please, in pledge.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, then. Polling for any conflicts of interest?
No.
Hearing none. Okay, so we'll move right on. Attending our commissioners Duncan and Brooks and Filios. I don't know that I have any compelling opening remarks. We are continuing our deliberations, which, as you know, began a couple of weeks ago. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead. We need to back up a little. We're going to deal first with case number MSP 19-0008, Lone Mountain Estates, 6th and 7th editions. And it's a request by JT Holdings LLC for preliminary approval of a two-phased major subdivision consisting of 41 residential lots on approximately 247 acres in the rural zone. Director Callahan, would you like to comment, sir?
Commissioners, Ben's all over this one, so I'll turn it over to him.
Go, Ben.
Good morning. Thank you. Again, this is for Lone Mountain Estates, which is a preliminary request for a major subdivision of 41 lots composed over two phases. The request is located near the corner of Ramsey and Chilco Road. Just a brief overview of the project. Again, 41 lots over two phases. The first phase would be 25 lots. Essentially, here's the dividing line between the two phases. This would be phase one with a new approach on the Chilco Road, and then phase two would include the additional 16 lots. Access, again, would be public and dedicated to the highway district. They propose to have individual septics and drain field systems and would be served by a public water system. Here is just a general overview of the site. Here you will see Chilco Road down here to the south, and then Ramsey kind of extends to the north here. The zoning designation is rural, in which all of the proposed lots will meet the minimum size for the zone of 5 acres or more.
Mm-hmm.
Comprehensive plan designation is country, and here's a overview again of the plat. Here is Highway 95, again Chilco down the south, Ramsey here to the north there, extending north. The application did go to agency review. None of the agencies had any objections to the request. There are many approvals with conditions, however, the applicant is fully prepared to comply with any conditions from agencies.
Question? Trans-Canada pipeline? Okay.
Sorry, is that any other part of the question? Or
Oh, no.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Yep.
Okay.
During the public comment period, we received 5 public comments. 3 were in opposition, 2 in support, and we did receive an additional comment after the close of that hearing, or excuse me, after the close of that comment period. It was in opposition as well. The HE at the public hearing did make a recommendation of approval with conditions. They found that it was compatible with the surrounding area. They found it was also compatible with the comprehensive plan designation of country. The recommendation has been submitted to you for review. Staff did want to make an additional condition, something that they have brought to the applicant. They are fully on board with the proposed condition. It's really more of a housekeeping thing than anything else. It's clear in the code, but staff wanted to make it crystal clear in the order. Essentially what that condition would say is that the common driveways as you'll see here and here, should be constructed or bonded for prior to final plat application. And then furthermore, that there would be a common driveway maintenance agreement for those common driveways, both prior to final plat application.
Is that a requirement by Lakes Highway?
No, it's a requirement of our code.
Okay.
Again, it's clear in the code, but I wanted to make it clear in the order. And again, I've run it by the applicant. They're fully on board and prepared to do that anyways.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
This is just the belt and suspenders, if you will. It's true whether you put it in the order or not.
Okay.
But Ben wanted to have absolute clarity. That makes good sense to us.
Fair enough.
And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Questions?
No, I don't.
Ben? Ben, just refresh my memory quickly. Reason for the opposition? Did anybody explain?
There weren't many comments with regards to opposition. Some of them included, well, one of them included their past relationship with the builder and did not feel that they should be continuing the development. There must have been some disagreements or something in the past, and so they felt like it was, they shouldn't continue the subdivision or the same line of development, so. There was some comments about traffic. Highway District had no concerns, of course, with the amount of traffic off of Chilco, but it didn't have anything much more than that.
Okay. Leslie, any questions?
No, I think I'm good. Did we have Lone Mountain Estates come before us earlier this year for a
Didn't they?
different
Yes.
edition?
Mhm. I don't have where's this go? It's to the north. There's actually, of course, this is being 6th and 7th edition.
Uh-huh.
So right here, you can actually see this is Massif Road.
Okay.
And so the original Lone Mountain Estates is here. First edition, I believe, is here, and then that was first and second edition. Third edition is right here. Fourth edition is up here. And then this is, and fourth edition is two-phase, so it would be fourth and fifth there.
Okay.
This will be 6th and 7th.
Okay.
So it's all in the general vicinity, yeah.
Bill, any questions?
No.
Does it sit over the aquifer?
Yes.
Okay.
How many total, just,
Of all the additions?
yeah, about?
I would say it's close to 120.
Homes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Are there more additions to come?
I don't know that. They haven't actually mentioned as much. I would expect that there will be. JT Holdings, they own this property here to the east, and based on the way that the roads are constructed, they extend to the edge of that property line. So I would expect that there will be, another application for that. But
How much additional land is there, roughly?
I
To the, I guess looks to be to the
think
northeast.
it's,
Well, this
This is
240.
yeah.
It's 240
Yeah.
acres, right?
so I believe that this is just as much, and in fact, they own some more properties. I don't have a parcel map that extends that far, I apologize, but, whoops, going the wrong way. Let's see how far it does go.
It's okay. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, that's the best that I have for you,
That's
I'm
fine.
sorry. But they own also this property, and I believe this property. They own a couple of these, but those aren't really intended to be further developed.
Mhm.
So I would expect that it would kind of move to the northeast.
Understood. Okay. Any more questions? Okay, so I'll entertain a motion therefore to end public. Oh,
It's
wait a
just
second.
deliberations.
Oh, it is deliberations. Okay, so we don't need a formal motion. Okay. Do we have a motion?
We do. I move that we approve case number MSP 19-0008, Lone Mountain Estates, 6th and 7th edition, incorporating the hearing examiner's conditions along with the staff recommended condition of common driveways being bonded before final plat application and a maintenance agreement.
I second the motion.
Good.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan.
Aye.
Chairman Philios.
Aye, and the motion is carried. Case number MSP 19-0008 is approved with conditions as stipulated. Thank you. So we're now at 9:12 a.m. Thanks, Ben. We're ready to move on to the second item on our agenda, which is the Pleasant View Neighborhood Association. This is a continuation of deliberations, and just to refresh everybody's memory, it's the Neighborhood Association, PVNA, is requesting the Kootenai County BOCC, Board of County Commissioners, to consider imposing an emergency moratorium on approval of major and minor subdivisions and condominium plat applications that are otherwise provided in Kootenai County Code within this general Pleasant View area of Kootenai County. And so we were in the midst of deliberations, I guess it was a few weeks ago, and decided on this date for continuance. So off we go. Thoughts? I think we pretty much expressed them already, but
Well, I've had a little change of heart, and I wanted to ask Director Callahan, if there were no moratorium, and someone wanted to come in and develop things within the code, within the ordinance, they do have to show that the soil perks, is that correct?
that's for septic.
Huh?
Well, that's a different issue.
Well,
Yes,
okay, I'm sorry.
but through the process.
I'll
But
go through the process.
the issue here is really, our snapshot requirement right now requires a little different from when this started.
Okay.
Because of Omnibus 3,
Mm-hmm.
we now require a person that actually knows hydrology to do the work. And so the snapshot should be a little bit better than we've been getting in the past. How much better, I really can't say.
That's- There's where I was going with this, is
Right.
that you require some expert opinion in terms of the availability of.
More expert. It used to be a
More
professional
expert.
engineer, now it's a
But
hydrologist.
that's
hydrologist.
required by county ordinance.
Yes.
Okay. That's what I wanted to hear.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Leslie, did you have any questions?
No, I don't. I just, thinking about timeframes, and I don't believe that a study of this magnitude is going to be completed in 4 or 6 months or 12 months. And so I'm concerned about setting precedents by having a moratorium when I don't think that the bigger purpose is going to be served at this point. And having and this is new, because we just approved omnibus this fall, right?
Right.
To have the hydrologist now involved in whether or not sufficient water may be available for subdivision, I'm kind of comfortable with seeing how that goes. And once the study's done, bring it back, and I want to see if it's definitive that yes, this is an issue. Then I'd like to take it up then.
So you're saying you don't see the need to impose a moratorium for the study?
I don't,
Okay.
and only because of the time frame and the imminent peril issue. I still have a problem with, imminent peril. So.
Okay. Bill?
No, I agree. And given what David's pointed out, I think there's sufficient protection at this time. And I also really agree with Leslie in terms of you can't take a snapshot. Because if today you went out and set a bucket in the middle of a parking lot and a day later looked inside it and said, it doesn't rain here, that's not the way it works.
And I really feel for these people. My in-laws have had issues with their wells and stuff, and I feel for them. And I wish there was better science. We put a man on the moon and we can't find out how much water's in the ground. So that's, I feel for them. But if they can get this study done, then please bring it back and we can make.
There's nothing to preclude them from doing the study.
Correct. Yeah.
That's true.
Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman?
Well, I went first the last time, so I guess I go last.
Now you're last.
Now I'm last, okay. You guys, you both make very good arguments. You know, I'll just briefly restate what I stated the last time. It's difficult to focus on the science because the only evidence we have right now, or to date, is largely anecdotal. However, without a study of some sort, of some duration, you can't have the science. And how can you decide if there's imminent peril if you don't have the science? And how can you have the science if you don't have the study? And so I'm still in favor of, I'm still in support, but I think Leslie makes a valid point. I don't see the difference between 4 months and 1 year. Now, I'm not a hydrologist, and somebody could say, no, you're dead wrong. Well, okay, fine, but I'm not going to hold people up for 1 year. I'm willing to do it for 4 months and commence, let's say, 30 days hence if we were to make that decision today. There are people delivering water, we know that, so maybe it's just somebody or some group trying to take advantage of the fact that there appears to be a shortage in the area. And apparently there is strong anecdotal evidence that the static levels are decreasing. So the only way we can come to some sort of definitive conclusion is with a study. Now, the question really, and Leslie's, and both of you, it's a valid question, is do you really need a moratorium for the study? And I guess, you know, you could argue either way, and that's why I would say, well, you know what? I don't know that you're going to get to the science unless you do something, and so I'm in favor of it, but I'm not going to go 6 months. And I'm certainly not going to go 1 year, but I'm willing to go 4 months and commence 30 days hence. So that means if we started, say, with mid-February, March, April, we would end mid-June. So that's my position, but I understand where you're both coming from.
I just, even if you say, okay, we all agree water levels are going down, you can't, I don't see the nexus, I don't see any real proof that there's a nexus between subdividing and the water levels going down, especially because of the nature of that area. You know, that's where my in-laws live, is on the Rimrock, and our good friends have drilled 2 wells, and they've gone 800 and 1,000 feet because they're on the Rimrock. So, you know, I can't make that leap right now. I mean, bring me study, bring me evidence, bring me science. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay. And it's interesting when we talk about imminent peril, and I think I had asked Pat, our attorney, at our earlier deliberations, and I think you mentioned, Pat, that we could basically consider the potential for imminent peril, if I'm not mistaken. I wrote that down, but.
Yeah, well, I maybe I should restate that. You know, the potential for peril is imminent, I think, would be a
okay.
valid reason to adopt a moratorium.
Yeah, so I'm gonna hold to my position, because even though I'm concerned for the people who are opposed to the moratorium and their desire to subdivide their land, I would think that they too would want to know if there's any evidence that there is a problem. Now, if it turns out that there is a problem, and if it is due to or development, well, that's a different issue, and that's not the one that we need to decide today. That would come later if in fact the study were conclusive. But I don't have a problem going 4 months, but certainly not beyond that. So I guess it sounds like I'm in the minority, but I'll call for a motion.
I move that we do not grant the applicant's request for moratorium at this time.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan.
Aye.
Chairman Philios.
Nay. Anyway, so the motion to approve a emergency moratorium as requested by the Pleasant View Neighborhood Association, PVNA, is hereby denied. And the time is 9:21.
Thank you, Lloyd.
So we're moving on to the signing segment. And this would be case number, am I okay, Kathy, to proceed?
Yep.
Good.
Okay. Case number CUP 19-0009, St. Herman of Alaska Skeet, for modification or expansion of a recently approved conditional use permit for a place of worship in case number CUP 18-0006. Is there a motion to execute the order of decision?
I move that we execute the order of decision for case number CUP 19-0009.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan.
Aye.
Chairman Philios.
Aye, and the motion is carried, so we'll be signing.
And can I make a quick comment on that?
Please.
I just wanted to let the board, and the director know that, I looked at the hearing examiner analyst, and it's a particularly excellent analysis of the application
Oh.
and, as to each element that the board would need to find to approve it. So
Okay.
I just want to make that note.
Thank you.
It was Joan Woodward, who was the hearing examiner on that.
Is she new by any chance?
Relatively.
She's the new world.
She's the
new
new-
world of the two.
Well, good.
Shannon
Only
Moore
at
does a
the
good job.
moment.
Shannon Moore does a good job, too.
Yeah.
Okay. It's nice to
Yes.
get off on the right foot with the new hearing examiner. Thank you, Pat.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sorry, go ahead. Changing of the guard.
We're still on.
Okay. So we're okay?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so we're moving on to item 7, which is the business segment of our community development, which includes updates. First item, Resolution 2020-08 for case number V as in Victor AC 18-0001, McGuire Estates, a partial plat vacation of an 0.78 acre parcel originally dedicated as a public park in the plat of McGuire Estates recorded in Book E, page 217, on June 4th of 1976. Director Callahan.
Mr. Chairman, this is almost the last thing we need to do in order to get this in front of the neighbors that would like to possibly buy it. So this really just seeks your implementation of something we've discussed several times.
And this is the first, after the plat vacation, which was done last August, this is the first step required by law to be able to sell this.
To be able to
property.
sell the lot.
Yes.
What's the next step?
Notifying the
Well-
adjacent property owners, we have a letter drafted.
We're ready to go with that.
Perfect.
Okay.
So we're memorializing, if you will, with this resolution.
All right, so then the motion would be to approve the partial plat vacation.
It would be just to approve and execute the resolution.
Oh,
The
okay.
plat vacation's already done.
You've done that.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Okay, then, motion?
I move that we approve resolution number 2020-08 for
Oh,
case
there it is.
number VAC 18-0001 and execute same resolution.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan.
Aye.
Chair Philios.
Aye, motion carried. So we are now executing the resolution. Thank you. So we are now moving on to item B of our business segment, which is the Wolf Lodge Creek Emergency Bank Stabilization based on Code 8.8.604, Abatement of Nuisances and Hazards. Director Callahan.
Mr. Chairman, this is an informational item. I won't be taking any immediate action, but I want you to be aware of the situation. That it may require action in the future. This came to my attention by Sandy Von Buren, and she's here in the audience, and also DEQ staff who are also here. The issue in a nutshell is we have a property that a shed is immediately adjacent to a creek. I'll show you a picture in just a moment. It looks to me like it may very well fall into the creek soon. You'll see why in just a moment. And that causes all sorts of issues, not the least of which is the possible blowout of a public road downstream. But what complicates all of this is Sandy and DEQ and others are working to help property owners with grants and other ways to arm the bank and make things better. we happen to have this situation where the current owner of this property I'm gonna show you hasn't been entirely reachable. We haven't gotten a resolution of how to arm this bank where this shed could literally fall into the floodplain. So the next step, just to give you a clue for where this is, the red pin button is the general property. Here's Coeur d'Alene Lake, here's the highway. Zooming in, this little yellow line gives you, as the crow flies, it's about less than 3,000 feet to this public road. And the cross-hatching, I'll zoom in a little better there. Here's the shed, here's the edge of the creek. The blue is the floodplain, the crosshatch red is the floodway. You'll remember the distinction is the floodway is what blows everything out and takes it downstream. And these lines are never exact. So the issue is this, that where you saw on that overhead is right there, and that's how close it is to the existing building. There's been, Sandy can step in a moment, tell you there's been some contact with the owner, but we don't have a definitive agreement to arm this bank or do something. So I just wanted to be aware, I'm gonna try and step in, I'm gonna try and help Sandy and others reach this man, have a dialogue, help them understand that there are grants that make this much more palatable, but it's gonna require him to spend some money. Sandy can talk about how much. To arm the bank now is the goal, so that this bank doesn't continue to erode and take down the structure.
Well, don't we run a higher risk right now because of our snowfall, that when it starts to
This
melt?
could be a problem soon. That's why we're here.
Okay, who brought this to our attention?
Sandy, but,
No, but.
oh, to our attention,
Okay.
yeah. Sandy, you wanna jump in?
Sure, I will. Kristen Larson with DEQ, which is also here, is the one that brought it to my attention. And it was that, as David had mentioned, there was concern about it going into the creek. They've been working very hard, and I don't think I should probably tell you this, because here's the person that's been involved in this process, but basically there's already been a grant award to help in the bank stabilization. It's going to be a project that'll be done coming up soon, but not right now. And in the meantime, this shed became a problem. Okay, it's not part of that grant, but it did become a problem because it may go into the creek, which could flood neighbors and the street, as he had mentioned. But I'd like, if I could, to have Kristen Larson talk about what her department has done and where they are with this and their communications with the landowner.
So, good morning, my name is Kristen Larson with Idaho Department of Environmental Quality. Wolf Lodge Creek has been a focus since 2010 for stream restoration. It's a significant nutrient source to Coeur d'Alene Lake, so it's an interest to the lake management plan. We secured we've already done some restoration work in the creek and up in the watershed through a series of grants. We secured a grant, actually it was the Kootenai Soil and Water Conservation District, secured a grant with Restoration Partnership to stabilize this bank. It's actually 1,400 feet, so it's upstream from this and then down into the next property. This particular bank was rated a very high priority in a stream restoration plan that was done back in 2015. The grant is for stabilization this summer. We are currently getting an engineering design to get that 1,400 feet stabilized and include some fish habitat restoration. So because of this situation being so close to the shed, we asked the landowner to temporarily stabilize this section of the creek. The state engineer came up with a temporary stabilization plan for free. And he also has an application in with Water Resources and Army Corps So the landowner is currently in Mexico. He's been reachable via email, but hasn't been responding. I do want to make it clear in the record that the Restoration Partnership money is not for this temporary stabilization because we do not have a design yet. So it's unfortunate for the landowner, and so we do not have grant money to temporarily stabilize this.
What is that amount?
We think it's anywhere from $15,000 to $30,000. We're asking the landowner to get quotes.
It'd be cheaper to take down the structure.
Yes, it would.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, so that's the situation. Yeah, if you have any questions.
So legally,
Yeah.
do we have a right to force
We
or to do it
That's why I copied you
ourselves?
to the language
Okay.
in front of you. I don't want to go there unless it's an
Right.
absolute necessity, but I thought I'd do is work with Kristen and anyone else, and just, I'll try and reach out, and I think it's Mike, and say, I'd rather not go there, can we
Right.
talk?
Okay.
And I'd like to add that DEQ and the Conservation District are coming up with letters that are strongly encouraging him to stabilize. It's unfortunate because it's expensive, and I think that's the, asking a landowner to come
But
up
that's
with
where I
that
can
kind of
help out and say that, I would rather not
Right,
take this and do it for you and lien your property. Would
right,
you be willing to take down the shed?
right,
And usually people, when they get that kind of,
right.
Has this been
Unambiguous.
Has this been a problem for a long time, or is it just all of a sudden now a problem?
The stream restoration
No, I mean, this particular-
plan, yeah, the watershed restoration plan was done in 2015, and this was identified as a very high priority because of risk to structure.
And
So,
has he been
since
notified in strong terms?
Yes, in 2015, when the plan came out, he came to a Coeur d'Alene Lake Tributaries Watershed Advisory Group meeting. We met with him personally and talked to him, and we've been in touch with him ever since. He's been very willing, but just wanting public dollars to help pay for it. Just the financial situation is a problem for him.
And then, Sandy, are there any other grants? I mean, you talked about grants in the beginning, but I'm just wrapping my head around all the restoration partnership and stuff. So are there separate grants that,
Well, there's a flood mitigation assistance grant, and there's all hazard mitigation plan grants, but again, they all require a match. And in this case, this is a huge grant, which is only requiring a $2,000.
Well, no, that's not
No?
true. Okay, so the grant is, the money from the Restoration Partnership, I can't remember how much it is, but we've got, several partners like Avista, the, North Idaho Flycasters.
but that's not gonna happen till the summer.
Right.
Right,
So
so-
we have we have
Right.
quite a bit of match on this. And this particular landowner, we asked to pay $2,000, thank you for bringing this up, towards that project. And we said that his $2,000 could be used for materials to do the temporary stabilization, and we can reuse those materials.
By then, the building could be in the creek.
Correct, yeah.
It's possible.
And then there's that added expense, and then we have no idea what the creek's gonna do. The stream channel could be in a totally different place.
Well-
Especially with, as Leslie said, with the snow.
Well, I mean, my concern is we have a warm March, and you're already, I mean, March is here, it's 45 days away,
Yeah,
so,
that's why we're here.
Right,
Yeah.
and there's no grant that the county can go after
for that amount.
and
that
get an
amount.
award that quickly, so that could not happen. And depending on the runoff will be dependent upon how imminent that is, that it will flood, but the fact that there is a good chance or a possibility of that happening and how that could impact other landowners and the road is
right?
a concern, and I know that they want to work first, one more time, to try to reach out to this gentleman to see if they can get this resolved, and so that would be David sending that letter as well, so.
And I've reached out to the highway district, wondering if there was something that they could help do, but just giving them giving John Pancratz the update that, hey, this is a concern. So they're aware of it as well. They've been a great partner on other projects, but I don't, we've asked them, but that's enough. Yeah.
So, but if he chose to take down the shed, that could actually be done even in snow, because,
You
Yeah.
don't know.
yeah, so,
I think the pivot point here is up until a few days ago, Sandy nor DEQ knew that this part of the code existed. And so, and they reached out to me and said, is there anything can be done? So I said, yes, there is. I just wanted you to have the background of it before we go off and start talking with people.
sure,
Because this tends to get people's attention.
yeah, yeah.
And just, Pat Braden, once again, just looking at is comparing a Google Maps image from 2014 to the image that's in the presentation, and it's pretty striking how far the bank of the creek has moved.
Thank you
And-
for
Yes.
bringing it up. I
And
meant
how-
to
Say how much it
include
was.
a Googler, that's from 2014. How many feet do you think it's moved?
Several.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's,
These oxbows can change in the season.
Mm.
yeah, and this is a very tortuous bend in the creek with a lot of power hitting that bank.
Yeah, I mean, it's even outside the map floodway, which also tells you how far it's moved.
So did I hear that grant money could be available in the summer?
It is
It is.
available.
It is
Yeah.
available?
Yeah, we've
It's awarded.
secured, the project design is underway and the project will be implemented this summer.
So if the neighbor, excuse me, it's not the neighbor, if the property owner doesn't want to take the action or can't afford to, whatever his reasons, and if we were to go in, and I read the code, which means we have the authority to do so, could we be reimbursed when that grant money becomes
The
available?
grant money, that's one of the parts from DEQ is that money will not be used towards this temporary stabilization. It's
Oh,
not
okay,
part-
you said that up
It's
front.
not
Yeah,
part of the
permanent
It's not part of the
application, it's not
application.
part of the budget, and it's not part of the action plan.
Could it be used for permanent stabilization?
It is going to be used for
Okay,
permanent.
okay.
And we can reuse some of the material that is used for temporary stabilization.
I think
I
part of the
can't tell you how
problem-
much because the design isn't done for the project this summer.
Right.
Part of the issue here is that this structure puts that larger grant in jeopardy.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
Because if it blows out and blows out the road, then what's the point of the grant?
so what,
And we could suffer a severe erosion
Right,
event.
right.
so what's his incentive to do something? That we would lien his property?
Yeah. That we would do the work and lead it.
We would do the work and lien his property, right?
It's not a happy position.
No, it's
These are
not.
not the kinds of things I enjoy.
But it
doing.
sounds as though
It's
you pursued
necessary.
him for quite some time.
Yeah,
Mhm. It's certainly not new to him.
Right.
So, do you need anything from us today, or
No,
is it
sir,
just
I
an
just want you to
FYI
be
at this
aware
point?
of it, because, again, these kinds of things tend to
Okay.
get people's eyebrows up.
Sure. And do we know how much he's using the shed? I mean, is it,
I don't know
no
anything
idea?
at this point.
Great.
it's a lot bigger than a shed, but.
Right, yeah, it looks like a barn
Yeah.
almost, so,
I don't think it's a shop either. He has a shop.
There are several structures on this
Yes.
property.
yeah.
You back up there. There's what we were looking at. I don't know what these other two things are.
That's
Yeah,
his house.
It's almost
that
right
that was
underneath the
on.
fence.
Yeah, it is.
The residence itself is the lower part that is not peaked roof.
Oh, yeah, the residence is on the lower part where the cars are parked,
Yep.
and then over where the arrow used to be,
Yeah.
I think is the shop.
I know
It's a
the
big
property
structure.
very well.
Oh,
There you
Some
go.
friends of mine live there.
oh.
They don't now, but they live there. And it's beautiful.
You know the owner?
Huh?
You know the owner?
I don't know the new one,
Okay.
see, but as that little creek goes through there, it's just absolutely idyllic.
Mm.
But in the spring, that can be a torrent.
Yeah,
You know,
that's the issue.
The Wolf Lodge Creek is definitely one of our flood issues that we deal with when we have a flood season. Sandbagging has to be done and so on and so forth to help protect the homes.
Okay,
Well, thanks for your ear.
you're very welcome. Thank you for the update. Thank you, Kristen, for joining us. Appreciate it. Sandy, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay then, so we move on to our final segment, item 8, which is public comment. And hearing none, 9:41, meeting adjourned, thank you.